Yeah.
Narvaez. All right.
Reu-Narvaez.
You know what? I'll let you do it because we're live, so you might as well just say hello. I don't know if we can be loud or not because
I know. We might have people coming in here.
That's right. What's up, Tanya?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How you doing?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing awesome. Welcome to the Closer Club.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. This was Charles's idea, and I have a feeling he's going to be spot on about it. So, hello everybody. Let me do my quick intro. Hello everyone. My name's Alex Vidal. This is the third time this week. I feel sorry for you, but you won't be disappointed because of Tanya. I'm the Regional Vice President for Coldwell Banker in DFW, and this is the 141st episode of the Closer Club. Tanya Reu-Narvaez.
Yep. There you go.
Wanted to make sure I said it right. She is not only an Executive Vice President for Realogy, the parent company, if you saw the other parent company for Century 21, ERA, Coldwell Banker, Corcoran, Sotheby's, Better Homes and Garden, and Cardis Relocation.
Well done.
I got it. She's also the Chief People Officer. And if you know anything about me, I'm all about people, face-to-face, belly-to-belly, palm-to-palm. So I'm really excited for this one. You ready?
I sure am.
All right, cool. So, Tanya, here you are. You're Chief People Officer for Realogy, the largest real estate company in the world, right? What is Chief People Officer? Let's start there. And how did you get there?
So Chief People Officer actually took on the role this January. I was really excited about it, and really proud and humbled to represent the 10,000 or so employees that we have across the company, in addition to the about 350,000 agents we have across the globe. So it's a big deal for me, and I'm super pumped. I've been with the company for about 19 years, so a long time. Been through the changes in the industry over that period. I started as an HR director, solely supporting the franchise side of our business. That's when we had 3 brands. We now have 6. So a lot of launches, between then and now. And then I took on, other expanded opportunities over that period. Most recently, I took over, prior to this role, the Coldwell Banker brokerage operations, and that I have to say was probably my biggest challenge and opportunity in the history of my career. So,
what made it so challenging?
The largest brokerage, in the world. Sure. And so a lot of change that we were driving, especially on the talent front. So talk about, the role of Chief People Officer, looking at, the talent that we had, how we grew that capability, what talent we wanted to attract to the company to really build the future leaders of the organization. So
awesome. Well, you're a big part of it. I mean, you were a part of my journey.
I sure was. We're excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's been a lot of fun.
Sure.
Blew my expectations out of the way. I think one of the things Realogy provides is this amazing ecosystem, one, to grow as an individual, but then the roadmap for the future is a monster. So I had 11 interviews, and you and Sue, I was trying to remember which one went first, but you guys were number 8 and 9 because Gorman was 10 and Kate was 11.
Who's counting?
So, it was a lot of interviews. It was, and everybody, I talk to a lot of people about it. I'm like, dude, that's a lot of interviews. And I'm like, I'm so happy I went through that process because it allowed me to experience all the major leaders and get a good perspective of how the company was being run. And for someone who was going to have to pick up and leave a job that I loved, because I did. I think
relocate.
Move my family halfway across the country in the middle of a pandemic. I did it with such a solid foundation, knowing I was making the right decision because I went through that process. Not one of the questions we prepared for, and she asked me the questions like 30 seconds before we went live. What hasn't changed with being in the people business from when you started 19 years ago to today?
So, I agree with you as far as we are a relationship business, belly to belly. I think that even though the pandemic hit and a lot of people are working in a hybrid world, there's still that level of connection that's really critical. So I think having that ability to connect both virtually but then also in person is still relevant in our business. And I also think that in our business, while the talent landscape has changed, there's still this level of, I hate to say it, but like complacency. There's not a lot of, drive for change across the board, and it's something that we're focused on certainly because, just in as far as where we are in the industry today and where it's going from a technology standpoint, demographics, et cetera, you have to be at the forefront. So change is required.
I'm curious. You brought something about being COVID and the new world we're in. So all of my interviews were done via Teams.
Is this the first time we're meeting in person?
First time
Look
we're
at
meeting
this.
in person, right?
It doesn't feel that way though, right?
No, not at all. And so I'm curious, when you look to hire someone, do they have to not only be great in person, but do they have to have a Zoom component to their resume?
No. I think that for me, it's the same. You're talking to someone you could pick up on not just their skill set, because I don't think we hire for skill set anymore, really hire for potential. Your point about coming into the organization, seeing this path, one thing that we pride ourselves on, and that at least I look for in leaders and future leaders of the company is, does one have the appetite for growth? Do they have the drive for change? Can they lead leaders? Can they drive change? And are they good talent assessors? So those are the things I look for in a good leader. And I think for us, Coldwell Banker, Realogy, we are a great destination for those that want to grow their career in the real estate industry.
That's right. I can vouch for that, by the way. Especially, I think the biggest thing is everybody around you, from my boss and Charles to Greg on up, everybody wants to see everybody rise up. Mm-hmm. There's no political BS, for lack of a better word. There's no jealousy. It's how do we help each other grow, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
All right, so we have a lot of agents who are team leaders. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of managers that are hopefully watching this. And I think there's a saying, culture eats strategy mm-hmm. for breakfast, right? Mm-hmm. What are some ways in which a team leader or a branch manager can build great culture within their team or their office?
Yeah, I think you have to, understand first and foremost what the current perception is of your team locally in your market and or your office before you can determine if there's anything that you want to enhance or change, what's missing, if anything. Sure. So that's first and foremost, and that's an external perspective, not internally. Then, of course, you have to, know who, how your agents and your staff view the culture within your organization. And, today more than ever, based on both the, hybrid world that we live in, based on the demographics and, different generations coming into the industry, culture matters more, right, sure. than the company or what have you. It really, the environment that you put out there and the ability to engage and inspire is more important than anything else. At least that's what we see. So.
Wow. I love the first piece, which is you got to figure out what the perception is in the marketplace of your business, right? Whether that be your team or your office.
That's right. Not many go about, that exercise, and it's really important. I know, we encourage that in our local offices, sure. And you learn a lot, and it really helps you with the roadmap going forward.
That's a great idea. And when I started, new to Coldwell Banker, new to DFW, so everything was new. I had about 30 questions that I went through with my managers mm-hmm. in the beginning, that initial one-on-one. And one of them is, how is Coldwell Banker perceived by your agents? And how is Coldwell Banker perceived in the marketplace? Because then from there, we at least have a basis to
Absolutely.
grow. The other big challenge that I think people face, not only in our role as leaders or branch managers looking to hire an assistant in their office or an assistant manager, or as a team leader mm-hmm. looking to hire their own assistant, is hiring the right people. It's hard.
Yeah, look, so a couple of things. We're at a war for talent, like a big one. We've always talked about that. It's major now.
War for talent.
War for talent. And I say that because right now there's a shortage of skill set. Employees and just, resources have more options than they ever did, given that you can work for the most part, not always in our industry, but, for the most part, you can work from wherever. So geography matters less. And people are just reevaluating their decisions in life, specifically, where they work and how they want to work. So war for talent definitely exists. The other piece is this notion of this great resignation. I don't know if you heard about that either. But
what is this?
So the great resignation really came as a result of the pandemic, and studies show that about anywhere between 45 and 55% of employees today will make a switch from an employer perspective within the next 12 months. So that's like those two,
really?
Forces together really force employers, office managers, team leaders to, differentiate themselves, focus on culture, and really bring in what I like to refer to as non-traditional talent, right? So I mentioned earlier, like to hire for potential, because I think that's really important. What, core competencies a person brings to the team, not just a specific skill set, and really look to what they can do next, not just for that specific, role that you might have available. And you always have to be recruiting. It's like that, always be closing, right? It's like always be recruiting. I know you do that all the time. Meeting with people out there, looking outside of the industry. We have to bring more people into this, wonderful industry that we're all in. But that's something that, we're always focused on as well.
And I think you've been a big champion of that too. I know Coldwell Banker obviously was very big on hiring from within, but you also said, hey, I think we need to look elsewhere, right? We need to look outside.
Very big.
Why is that important? And again, I know this was in front of
me. There's so many reasons. We tended to focus on, when we had a vacancy, we weren't always building a pipeline. So, we tried to change that mindset. But when we had a vacancy, we'd look internally at our agent base, which is great because we do want to grow our own people. but we were only doing that, we were only going to the outside, I should say, a few percentage of the time, like 2% or something. So it's great that we wanted to grow our own, but two things there. One, easier to sort of onboard, so I get that, right? Sure. But you lose diversity of thought. You lose, somewhat of that competitive edge because you're not bringing on board folks from the outside that might bring a very different perspective or, competitive advantage, if you will. So we really focused on diversifying our approach to hiring and balanced like 50-50, looking internally half of the time and then going to the outside. And it really made all the difference from a performance perspective because there's certainly a correlation.
Right. So there you go. If you're outside of Coldwell Banker does not only hire from within. I'm a product of it. Actually, Charles, the president of Texas, is a product.
That's
Greg Rand, I call us.
See, we've been busy.
We have been busy. I call us the renegades.
Yep.
I love it because
we go out there and we try to spot talent and literally place them in the company, whether we have an opening or not. That's what we do.
There you go. And if you haven't been spotted yet, raise your hand and figure out. Okay, you mentioned diversity and inclusion. I know that's like a monster passion of yours.
Yes.
Why is it so important?
Oh, that's a big question. So today, first and foremost, marks the first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. I have my ERG shirt on here. I just did a town hall with our company. Really important to us. So rewind, I'll just share a quick story. So I'm Hispanic, so that's one of the reasons. So very passionate about just, our people and our culture. But when I joined the company almost 20 years ago, I looked around and at one point I thought I made the wrong decision because I didn't really see people like myself. And I mean, gender, Latina, young at the time, no longer. But it was an eye-opener for me. So I wanted to understand why that might be the case. And so I dug deeper, I did some research on the industry and quickly recognized that it wasn't intentional. We were a product of the industry. The industry was sorely underrepresented. So when I learned the data behind the why, I made it my mission to try and change the trajectory. And through a company like Realogy, where you have the critical mass, we were able to really start that path, I believe, for many real estate organizations and, partnered with the likes of the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, ARIA, et cetera. And we've really made a difference. I mean, we are very focused on diversifying our agent population, our franchisee population, as well as, obviously, our employee population.
There you go. I'm actually going to be joining NAREP now in Dallas.
Fantastic.
We brought on a new agent, A.T. Almeida. He's a...
I know him very well.
You know A.T.?
My husband told me about this anyway.
No,
so there you go, yes.
So one of the things I challenged A.T. with, I need you to get me focused. I want to join NAREP. There's no way that I'm Cuban-American, I'm in Dallas. How am I not a part of NAREP?
That's right.
A.T., you're coming on. He's a Brazilian. I'm married to a Brazilian, right?
There you go. You have a lot in common.
Exactly. Bull rider. I love it. I'm like, you got to make me do it. And so he's going to help guide me into that process.
Fantastic. Well, I'll be at Latitude, the NAREP National Conference at the end of the month in San Diego. So looking forward to that.
He's actually trying to get me out there, and I'm like, I raced that weekend, so I gotta kind of figure it out.
Sure.
Well, Tanya, thank you so much for your time. This was awesome. I mean, you're the people person. That's what it's about. So, and I can see why. You have a special energy about you, and I think if you're going to be with people, I think there's energy providers and energy drainers. You're absolutely an energy provider.
I appreciate
Last
that.
question. Ask this to everybody. I don't know if I told you this before. Book, podcast, or TED Talk recommendation for the audience.
So I think it's probably, many have read this, but the book Grit is one of my go-to books right now. I'm reading the book Talent Makers, so it's a new one, so check it out if you haven't.
There you go. All right, I'm going to turn around and go turn off the camera. Any parting words for the audience?
No, I just thank you for having me again, Chief People Officer. I love being in this role in a people business. So thank you again, and look forward to continuing the conversation in the future. Thanks, Alex.
There we go.